Hi, Greg Lothian here. I'm the founder of Skilled Body Fitness Solutions and the creator of the skill-based strength training system. Today we're going to talk about core, and there's a lot of misconceptions as to what core actually is, what core exercises you should be doing. I'm going to talk to you about the 6 core exercises that you definitely need to start with that will make a huge improvement on stabilizing your body. So before that, I just want to talk about what exactly is core. People use the term for all kinds of different things, and there's actually a specific set of rules that I use for training core and moving from this to other stuff. So if we look at the body and we want to train core exercises, one of the things that I'm obsessed with is I'm obsessed with the word why. I don't like to do things that waste my time or waste my clients' time. So if we're going to do an exercise, then there should be a point behind it. Now, what is the purpose of core exercises? What are they primarily trying to do? The answer to that is they're trying to maintain your posture to protect your body. So if that's the first part of why we should be doing core is to protect our body, then we got to figure out what exercises are going to teach our body how to stabilize itself and to be strong and be able to apply that to other things. So we'll go right away into talking about the 5 centers of movement that we want to be able to stabilize. So traditionally, people say core, they talk about in general the body. It's actually the first center of movement, the first thing that you want to be able to stabilize and get strong, protect especially your lower back, but many other things that are going on as well, is from your ribs to your pelvis. So when you look at doing exercises like planks or some of these other various exercises that are out there, primarily why they're good exercises, they're not the best exercises, but they're good exercises, is because they teach you to stabilize your rib cage to your pelvis. I'm going to give you a set of 4 exercises that will do a little bit more than just a plank to really teach you how to stabilize those two together. The other 4 centers are your shoulders, 1 and 2, and your hips. So once we have our initial center stabilized, there's still all kinds of things that can go wrong if we don't know how to stabilize our shoulders and our hips. So I'm going to give you a few exercises for that. We're going to roll into it right away. Now, the series of exercises that I give that are really core centered is a series of exercises called the crane exercises, something that I just came up with on my own. And then there's another exercise that I use is called a star. So the next 6 exercises I'm going to teach you, they're all static. They're just standing still. And that's just the initial phase. So initially you want to teach yourself to be able to stay still with resistance applied to your body. But then over time you want to take what you've learned, apply it to movements while still being able to stabilize the important parts. So I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. So for the crane exercises, the crane position itself, what I refer to as the crane position, is standing with your arms out in front of you like that. Sort of, you look like a mechanical crane like this. So once we adopt that position, then the things that we definitely need to do, if you haven't seen my video on Big 3, excuse me, Big 3 is very important. We talk about center of gravity, how to position your lower back, and how to brace properly to do an exercise like this. So, so if you're interested, watch that video as well, because it's really important. So what we're going to do is I have this overhead here. You can have a hook on the ceiling. It can be you use a door or whatever. And you can grab just a simple elastic. So the first crane exercise I do is it's called a top crane. So I just label them as to where the resistance is coming from. So a top crane, the resistance is coming from up top. And all you're going to do is you're going to apply a force. So you get an elastic that's appropriate for how much resistance you think you can fight against. And you can do one hand over the other. You can lace your hands together. It doesn't really matter. and you're going to press it down until you're in a very good posture. It's a good idea to have a mirror beside you so that you can at least glance, make sure that your butt's not out or you're not leaning back like this. You want to be in a semi-athletic ready position, so you're back in a neutral position and holding yourself like this. Now, depending on, and when you're doing this, you're going to notice that your abs are working like crazy to keep your body from arching backwards, and your shoulders are actually working. So we're actually working the two top centers of core at the same time when we do this exercise. So draw our shoulders down and hold it here. Okay, we keep a nice good posture. The next question is, how long do we hold it for? The answer is it totally depends on what activities you do. So you can hold this for 15 seconds with really high resistance. If you're going to do activities that are 15 seconds long, that you need to be able to really stabilize yourself. Or if you're going to do extended activities, depending on what your daily living is like and the things that you like to do, you can hold this up to 90 seconds is what I recommend. So this is the top crane. Then we go to a bottom crane. So again, you can take your elastic and place one foot out. Now you're going to do this with two hands, and so you can hold on. Same thing, you can hold on with one hand over the other. If you do that, then each set you do, you should alternate back and forth. And incidentally, too, if you're standing on it with your foot, or maybe you have a hook on the floor, you can use that as well. But if you do stand on it with your foot, you're trying to maintain a nice straight posture. There's going to be a little bit off to one side. Just each set, alternate which foot you're holding it down with. So from here, we hold out into this position, and we try and make sure we monitor our posture with a mirror beside us. Again, making sure your back is in the right place. This exercise, the bottom crane, is definitely much more taxing on the lower back, which is really important for maintaining all of your posture with your lower back and everything. So really make sure that you're standing up nice and tall, because over time, as you get tired, either your shoulders are going to drop or you're going to round your back, which is not something you want to teach your body. The next two exercises are called a side crane. So I'll just show you on one side. You just mimic it on both sides. Again, you can use an elastic. I'm just using my cable system here. You can use whatever you want. And actually, there are times when if I'm training in a different place, maybe I don't have my elastics with me, you can actually do all of these holding onto something static and just pushing against it. So for a side crane, you're going to get yourself exactly the same position so that you're nice and straight with your crane, but now the resistance is coming from the side. You put your hands out in front of you like this. You want to hold it like this any way you want. That's fine. So what you're going to notice here, obviously, that there's a rotation that's being applied to your body. And you're going to notice, if you have a mirror in front of you, which is a very good idea, that your hips are moving from side to side, or maybe they're off to one side, and you feel like there's more weight in one foot than the other. So what we really do want to see is when you look down, that you're perfectly centered, so you're not off like this. And if you feel that the weight is even in both feet, something is wrong. You're off center. Because the resistance is coming this way, we should have more weight in this foot than in that foot. Okay? So again, it's a static hold like this. Make sure you're nice and straight. If you're working with somebody, maybe they can help you out, and then do the same thing on the other side. The last two exercises for this is what I call a star. It's very similar to the side crane, but this time you're going to actually have your hands out to your side. So you grab your elastic, whatever you're working with, and you're just going to pull it out to one side. So this arm is pretty relaxed. I actually tend to put this arm up as well, because if I'm working with a mirror in front of me, it helps give me a guideline as to where I'm standing, if I'm standing in the right place. So you want to work with whatever resistance you can deal with, and you want, again, to maintain your posture, perfect posture. Now, as this gets heavier and heavier, there's going to be some changes. The only real change you have to make is in the distance of your feet. So when you first start off, I want you to start with your feet relatively close together. And what ends up happening is, what you sort of want to feel all the time, is there's almost no weight on this foot. So all the weight's on this foot. We're keeping ourselves as square as possible. You're working, it's going to work your core automatically here. Draw your stomach in as much as you can and really brace on the side and keep yourself nice and square, okay? As the resistance increases, obviously this is going to just tip us over, so you have to put your feet apart. I've worked with enough resistance that my feet are apart like this, and I try and keep myself nice and square, and I have almost no weight in this foot at all. So that's really what you're going for, is the opposite side where the weight is pulling from, or the resistance is pulling from. You want almost no weight on this foot, and you still want to be able to look down or look in a mirror and make sure that you're perfectly square. Now I'm just going to take 2 seconds to talk about how we extend that out. Now the crane does work shoulders and certainly the hip exercise, especially with the star. And we want to take what you learn from these exercises, practice them for 4 or 6 weeks or something like that, increasing the resistance over time. And you want to take what you learn there and be able to now stabilize your core and do other movements. Okay, so if you don't take your core exercises and then teach your body how to move while maintaining a good core between your ribs and your pelvis and keeping your shoulders stable and keeping your hips stable, then you're still at almost as high risk for injury for your back or shoulders or whatever. So I'm going to give you 2 other exercises that you can start to practice, and they're pretty straightforward, and all they're doing is applying movement to the core exercises that you're learning. The first one is a simple step down. So all you need is like a last step on a set of stairs. It doesn't need to be high at all. And what you're going to do is you're going to stand with your hands on your hips like this. Now, somebody who has a weak core or uneducated core, because a lot of times it's not because they're weak, it's just that they don't know what to do, is you lift one foot up, and if you look at the hands here, one hip will drop. Okay? This is definitely not maintaining our core, because as we drop on one side, our ribs and our pelvis come apart and our back is rounded to the side. So what you're going to do is you're going to lift one foot and you're going to keep your hands as even as possible and really tighten your abs. From here, you're going to teach yourself to squat down, touch your heel to the ground to the next step, without reaching with your hip. And that's the first part of teaching yourself how to really maintain your core, maintain your posture, and apply movements with your lower body. The one that I use for upper body, now our crane is going to help us, crane from the side and from the front, to stabilize our shoulders, as long as we keep our shoulders down and our chest out. But we're not really moving. So the next phase that I do, and it's in a lot of the programs that we use, a bit of an obscure exercise, is called an alphabet drill. This is a drill that I use that came out of the therapy world and I use in the conditioning world all the time. And it's all you're going to do is you're going to draw the alphabet in big letters with your hand. But you're going to do this as fast as you can without letting your shoulder move around too much, and definitely without letting your core move. So if you have to set yourself up, make your core nice and tight, or at least the center part of your core nice and tight. You can engage your hips too, so the bottom 2 corners and the top 2 corners, and you can do one hand at a time if you want. You can put a hand on the hip like this. And what you're going to do is you're going to draw big letters, but you're going to draw them as fast as you can draw them without really moving your body around. So if you have to start off slow like this and really concentrate on your core, that's fine. And then the faster you get, you just don't want to see a lot of movement in your hips. So again, you can do this in front of a mirror, or if you're training with a training partner, they can watch what's going on and help cue you like that. The possibilities for that exercise, the 3 ways that I actually teach it, so it actually expands out into 3 exercises, is you do it in the front, you do it on the side, so this really helps to keep your shoulder as stable as possible. And we do it on an incline, so pointing about 30 degrees out in front of you. Okay, so again, we go back. When you're first starting out, teach your body how to stabilize itself. So you do your crane exercises, the top crane, bottom crane, And the 2 side crane exercises with your hands out like this, somewhere between 15 and 90 seconds with an appropriate amount of resistance. And then you can expand out into a step down or some alphabet drills to really start to apply movements to all of the core work that you learned. Okay?